Okay, boys and girls, sorry about that. Life on the farm can be crazy, and we got a little interrupted in my first taping of the story, so I'm going to do this one again, and this time we're going to have 2 links to this homework. So the story that I'm going to read to you today is called The Runaway Pumpkin, and it's about a giant pumpkin that gets loose on the farm and rolls all over the place. So it was written by Kevin Lewis, illustrated by S.D. Schindler. This is the front cover. And then you can see on the back cover that they're all in their costumes and they're looking at the pumpkin like, oh, what is happening? So let's see what happens in the story, The Runaway Pumpkin. And you're going to see why we chose this story because it kind of fits the day today. It says, once upon a hill when the wind blew with a chill. So it's not chilly today, but it's definitely blowing. Wandered Buck and Billy Baxter with their baby sister Lil. And there upon that hillside, growing orange, fat and fine, the budding Baxters found a pumpkin on a twisty, twirly vine. It was big and it was round, and the boys, their eyes agleam, gave a whoop, a yell, and a holler. No finer pumpkin had they seen. And today was Halloween, so that's why they have their costumes on. Yes, Lil was cautious, and of course, she tried to warn them, but her bumbling big-head brothers snapped the pumpkin from its stem. And as she watched them roll it, at first real slow and then much faster, little Lil looked down the hill and she foresaw disaster. Round and round across the ground, making a thumpin', bumpin' sound, came that thumpity, bumpin', thumpin', bumpin', round and rolly, runaway pumpkin. It's trying to roll away from me. A short way down the hillside, that zoomin' pumpkin caught the eye of Muckin' Mama Baxter, who thought of Granny's pumpkin pie. And then you can see that she's got the vision of pumpkin pie above her head in that little dream cloud. Till it busted through their sty. And a sty is, look right here, remember where they keep the pigs. Round and round across the ground, making a thumpin', bumpin' sound, came that thumpity, bumpin', thumpin', bumpin', round and rolly, runaway pumpkin. A little further down the hillside, just beyond the chicken coop, Grandpa Baxter and that pumpkin thought of Granny's pumpkin soup. So there he is with his dream cloud thinking about the pumpkin. Till it knocked him through a loop. Round and round across the ground, making a thumpin', bumpin' sound, came that thumpity, bumpin', thumpin', bumpin', round and rolly, runaway pumpkin. Now at the bottom of the hillside, where the boundin' pumpkin sped, Papa Baxter on his tractor thought of Granny's pumpkin bread. And then here comes that pumpkin down the hill. But Papa Baxter used his head and quickly plowed a pumpkin bed. So at the bottom of the hillside, fat, round, and upon the ground, that thumpin', bumpin' pumpkin plopped, and it didn't make another sound. And as pigs and hens and Baxters gathered round where Papa plowed, little Lil, she gathered Granny and pulled through the waiting crowd. Buck and Billy looked really proud. So it's not rolling anymore. And then look how they push it through the door. You can tell this is fiction because I don't think that could really happen. Then, thumpity bumpin', thumpin' bumpin', straight to the kitchen went that pumpkin. And soon after came the smell of dear old Granny cooking something. Granny stirred, she stewed and baked until the bright full moon rose up, and all those hungry Baxters sat themselves down to sup. So all those foods that they had been dreaming about that they were going to use to make that with that pumpkin, their dream came true. And at the center of the table, among the soup, the bread, and pie, sat a grinning jack-o'-lantern with a little twinkle in his eye. So they even used him to make the giantest jack-o'-lantern ever. And there's the end of the story. They're going off trick-or-treating, but if you look really close in this story, you can still see the pumpkin sitting at the table in the window. And that was the story of the runaway pumpkin. Now on your homework paper today, it says, after you listen to the story of the runaway pumpkin, you are going to say where you think your pumpkin would roll to. So I can roll to. Draw something here about where your pumpkin would roll to. And then on the other side, you saw a lot of really cool things at the farm today. I want you to think of 2 of the things that I showed you here at Linnemeyer's farm. I want you to try to draw them in the square. And then I want you to try to either stretch like a stretchy snake, label them, or try to sound out what those 2 things were that you thought were interesting, and then we're going to share them. So until next time, thanks for watching.